Hey there, and welcome to another in this series of daily devotional videos from Open Door Church Sunbury, which we've been running throughout the lockdown period and beyond. In my last video, we left Noah and his family in the ultimate extreme lockdown in a boat adrift on an ocean of water with a bunch of wild animals, kind of like Life of Pi multiplied 100-fold. And today is the day when their lockdown ends. And I'm reading from Genesis chapter 8. It says, God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. So the first thing we read is that God remembered Noah. He was not unaware of or indifferent to Noah's need and to the plight of Noah of his family. And the message to us is he is not aware of or indifferent to our need, to your need. God remembered him not in the sense that he had previously forgotten. It was a remembering similar to when Joseph interpreted the dream for Pharaoh's cupbearer in prison. And he said, when all goes well with you, remembered me and show me kindness, mention me to Pharaoh, get me out of this prison. It was remembering in action. Sometimes we say to someone, don't we, when you see so-and-so, remember me to them. It's an active thing. It's not that God has forgotten for Noah for 150 days, but now is the day when he acts. And secondly, he sends the wind. The Hebrew word there is ruach, meaning breath or wind or spirit. And it's the same word that's used in Genesis chapter 1 when the Spirit of God is brooding over the waters. God intervenes supernaturally to change the course of events. This is not simply a natural phenomenon. And it becomes clear that the waters are going down. And then Noah sends two creatures. First, he sends a raven, and the raven, being a wild bird, just flies around, seizes its freedom, doesn't return, just flies around until the waters go down. Then he sends out another creature. I wonder if you can remember. Do you know? Can you guess what it was? Let me show you, as if by magic. Here. Have to say the magic words with me. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hula banana. Ashby de la Zouche. Yes, it's a dove. He sent out. Sorry, what did you say? It's. Oh, for goodness sake. It doesn't matter how many times I practice that trick. At least it wasn't the rabbit this time. That would just be stupid. Right, hang on just a minute. Here we go. There, it's a dove. Right, don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. That is a dove. God sent out a dove, not a cockatoo. It was a dove, right? And the dove, I'll tell you what, let me read it. He sent out the dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the earth. So God sends out the dove and it flies off. Whee! There we go, dove. But it could find nowhere to perch because there was still water all over the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. And then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. In old days, the coal miners used to take a bird down the mine with them, didn't they? Usually a canary. And they would watch the canary, and if there was poisonous gases starting to escape from the coal, the canary would die, and then they'd know that they needed to get out fast. Birds used, as a sign. Noah sends out the raven. I sent out a bird at the end of lockdown. I sent out my wife. I said, dear, go and get a loaf of bread or something. Off she went, and 2 weeks later, she's still out there somewhere. No, I'm kidding, of course. She came back, and 2 weeks later she is fine, so I presume it's safe to go out. Good move, I thought. And Noah sends out the 2 birds. The raven, wild, strong, independent, self-willed, doesn't return, simply tries to fend for itself out above the waters. And then he sends out the dove, who returns to the one who cared for it. And we might see in these 2 birds 2 choices for Noah and his family and for all of humanity. God remembered Noah. The raven forgot about Noah, but the dove remembered him. God has not forgotten you. Have you forgotten him? Is the will and purpose of God central to your thoughts and to your life choices? Or are you basically pursuing your own desires, your own ambitions, your own self-will, and paying lip service to God, if to him at all? Do you maybe turn to God when the going gets tough and forget about him when things get easier? Are you like the wild raven that just cleared off, or like the dove that returned to the one who cared for him? Then, having come through the ultimate extreme lockdown, Noah is now faced with the ultimate extreme survival challenge. This is a situation that would test even the skills of Bear Grylls, because everything is wiped out. And yet, the first thing Noah does on leaving the ark is to worship and to sacrifice. In verse 20 it says that Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. Never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done." Noah, no doubt, giving thanks for their rescue, but also re-establishing their relationship with God and their dependency on him. He takes some of the precious animals that God has provided for food and for breeding, and he sacrifices them as an offering to the Lord. Under pressure, it's important that we don't stop worshipping and we don't stop giving. The more you hold on to, the less you have. In contrast, Jesus said, "Give and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." How generous we are in times when we're under pressure is the real measure of our heart and our generosity, more than how generous we are when we have plenty. God has not forgotten you. Have you forgotten him? Have you turned to him in your times of need? And if you turn to him in time of need, do you forget about him in times of plenty? Today could be the day when he chooses to act. If you turn to him and bring your need and offer your need to him, just as Noah did, this may be the day when God remembers you. Will you remember him? This is a time to worship and give thanks. The pandemic that threatened to overwhelm us, our health system, our care system, is in retreat. There is much sorrow and there's much concern, but we are in a better place now than we were 3 months ago. Worship is about giving thanks, but it's also about financial giving. Maybe like me, you're among those who found yourself better off as a result of the pandemic. Perhaps you've been spending less, eating out less, doing less, whatever. Consider giving some of that extra away to those who are in need as an act of worship. Don't just hold it all for yourself. Give, and it will be given to you. If you help provide for others, God will provide for you. And in whatever way you've connected with God through the lockdown, hold on to that, build onto that, make that your life focus, and make sure that he is not a sideline. He is not something secondary in your life, but his will and purpose for you is central to your life, to your living, and to your decisions. So finally, let me just pray as we finish. God, thank you that you remembered Noah. Thank you that you remember us. Thank you that as you cared for Noah and provided for him, you have cared for and will provide for us. So help us, Lord, to remember you in the good times as well as in the bad, and help us to make you our focus, to make you our worship, to make you our service throughout our lives. Amen.